Hey, what is up guys? So I recently posted 15 secret money making methods and 15 monsters, and now we're doing 15 bosses. Hopefully this video helps, and it's just entertaining to watch. Also a quick plug, Amazon Audible. I don't sponsor anything I don't stand behind. I've been using this for 1 year, free month of membership, 2 free books. You can just sit there and escape, do your homework, do your studies, all that good stuff. Okay, starting off at the worst gold per hour, the giant mole at number 15. So for anyone that doesn't know, the giant mole is found below the Falador Park. This right here is normally the inventory I do take if I am going with melee. Whether you are using range or melee, I would definitely bring a dragon warhammer, or even better, a crystal Halley. We can see it can hit very nice, and it does hit duplicate, twice on a monster that is bigger than 1 square. It is recommended to probably have like 100 combat and use full DH or even range with a twisted bow or any crossbow with ruby bolts or a blowpipe. You could actually be a peer, like 60 combat, 1 defense, and safe spot the mole with ruby bolts. The Falihar diary is a recommended, but I would say it's almost a requirement. We can see it shows the arrow of where the mole is located after it digs. You also get noted mole skins and mole claws from the hard diary, so yeah, go and do that ASAP before you actually kill this boss. I actually tried to scythe on the mole and I thought it would just wreck, and it does. But of course, the scythe hits 3 times, so on the 3rd hit or the 2nd hit, the mole would dig, and it wouldn't even register the other hits, which kind of is a bummer. So I would say Darok is probably the best method to kill this thing. As far as the notable drops, the giant mole pet, of course, 1 out of 3,000, a decently easy boss to get. The mole skins are roughly 3.6, and then of course with the drop you can get like 1 to 3. It's 10.8k tops, which is very nice. Also an additional mole claw, which is dropped 4.5k. The common drops 100 U-logs, 15 blood runes, some alch items, iron ore, iron arrows, nothing too crazy, about 800k profit per hour. Coming in at number 14, the Grotesque Guardians. There is quite a bit of drama about this boss, whether killing the regular gargoyles are better than killing the boss. It is a lot of effort, you gotta use more supplies. For the requirements, of course, you need 75 Slayer because it is a gargoyle boss. You do need a brittle key as well, 1 out of 150 drop rate from the regular gargoyles. You also can't enter to kill this boss without the gargoyle task. Of course, a rock hammer, some good gear. I would say Jagex did the boss and this environment extremely well. I actually remember when it was released, and just so much hype, man. It was so fun, except you couldn't get in the cave because so much people were killing it. RIP. Alright, so looking at the notable drops, and you do get 2 drops for every single kill, which is quite nice. One of the more fancy, nicer looking pets in the game, 1 out of 3,000 drop rate. You can also get granite dust, which you attach to the cannonballs and make them granite cannonballs, which can hit 35s. There's the black tourmaline core, which you can add to Bando's boots to make the guardian boots. They're only 5.7 right now. But when guardian boots rise, they can go up to like 10 mil, so a decent drop. Then there is a jar of stone, which does absolutely nothing. It's literally like a little jar. You can't do anything but put in your house, although some high levels do find interest in it. And coming in as a last big drop, the granite hammer, 1.1 mil at 1 out of 1,750. There is the granite ring, but that thing's like 50k, which is pitiful. The Jagex team has mentioned buffing the drop table, but for right now, it's about 500 to 800k. But of course, you could get lucky and get like 2 back-to-back, tourmaline cores. Good luck. Yes, Barrows coming up next, one of the oldest bosses or mini games to do in RuneScape. So brief requirement, definitely buy Barrows tabs to get there instead of traveling through the swamp. Who does that anymore? Priest and Perel quest, gear and potions, of course, med combat levels, all that good stuff. Check out my Barrows guide if you actually are curious about a more full in-depth version. Most efficient players nowadays actually just use full graceful set to increase their run while using stamina potions with a trident, and then they just teleport to their house, teleport back to Barrows. Very quick runs. If you have a high enough construction level to have had the rejuvenation pool unlocked, and now is the time to use it, and I would definitely recommend the hard Mortania diary so you can get increased loot, mainly runes. I would expect every player above 105 combat to have tried Barrows out at least once in their OSRS career, and honestly, I know it's like OSRS, but it's so cool that Barrows still holds its weight. Like I said, it came out in early 2005 in the regular RuneScape, and to see it still on the top 15 bosses, that's quite nice to see. Alright, so if you do kill every single brother before getting to the chest, and of course you have 100%, you have a 1 out of 17 chance roughly to get an item, which is 50k to 2.5 mil an hour. You can also get a Dragon Med Helm for 60k and an Elite Clue Scroll for 1 out of 33, which is a pretty high drop rate for the Elite Clues. Estimated profit 1 mil to 1.3 mil, and like I said, it will definitely help out to get that hard Mortania diary. Next up, King Black Dragon. Most high levels kill KBD for Black Dragon Slayer task, but besides that, many people look at KBD as kind of a newbie boss, although it is great to kill with this little trick. I actually mentioned this in a previous money making video. You can just get a new account, like a fresh account, get it 46 range, get it a bond. You could just bring yourself, 1 or 2 alts, but in theory, you could have like 9 accounts and always pay for your bond, in 3 hours on each account, easy if you bring a looting bag and you're consistently killing KBD. And on top of that, most mains teleport up to KBD in like a Glory, Proselyte, Climbing Boots, Nezi. They don't want to risk very much. If you could load up your alt account with 3 items each and then trade yourself when you get into KBD to give yourself max gear. I will throw the requirements and recommendations on the screen, but like I said, you can be very low level and kill KBD, although I would recommend a Dragon Hunter crossbow. Hits 30% better on dragons, and a looting bag, so you can go outside the lever and just put everything in the looting bag, go back in. Alright, looking at the notable drops, and with the updated spawn time, if you guys don't know, it takes literally 5 seconds to spawn. I think it's the quickest boss in the game, and you can just kill him like so repetitive if you have a big clan or alts like I said. The KBD pet 1 out of 3,000 always drops 2 dragon hides instead of 1, which is quite nice. Draconic Visage 7.6 mil, 1 out of 5,000 drop rate. Many of the other dragons are actually 10,000. We can also see the KBD drops a Dragon Pickaxe for roughly 5 mil. They keep skyrocketing price, I'm telling you, and then the drop rate is 1 out of 1.5k, so decently common to be honest. Alright, so the estimated profit per hour, this one varies quite a bit. Of course, it could be 550k if you're just like a noob killing it, but if you have alternative accounts like I said, or you even have a Twisted Bow or Dragon Claws with a super anti-fire potions and a clan or a friend, it could really add up to like 2 mil easy. Okay, moving on to the Abyssal Sire. So the requirements, you do need 85 Slayer or an Abyssal Demon task, or actually the Sire task via, the Boss Slayer unlocked. This is actually the gear I go with. I would copy it, pretty heavily. You could replace the Crystal Halberd for like a Dragon Warhammer or an SGS. This boss will poison, so bring, anti-poison potions or Sandfuse serums. Also bring shadow spells. Do not forget that. You actually need shadow spells to activate the boss. So the recommended, I would definitely bring an Arc Light. You're going to hit a lot better, even better than a Tentacle Whip. Best weapon against like demons and whatnot. You could also bring Blood Barrage to, heal on the minion clumps, or you could just use it on the tentacles. Even if they are down, you can still heal, which is pretty cool. Okay, now going over the drops, you can actually get an Unsired drop as the rare drop, then you go to the pool and turn it in, and then you have a chance to get a Bludgeon Piece, an Abyssal Dagger, a whip, a pet, and there's so many things, so it's very cool. The common and the uncommon drops are pretty hefty as well. We can see the earth orbs, the coal, the various seeds, all that stuff is roughly 60k plus in one drop. So not to mention some nice Slayer XP. If you actually do kill this thing, you'll be looking at 1 to 1.5 mil profit per hour. Up next, number 10, the 3 Wildy bosses. So there is Venenatus, the spider boss, Callisto, the bear boss, and Vedion, the, I don't even know what you would call this, a humanoid skeleton. Also, let me know below which one of these 3 bosses is your favorite, gold-wise, killing-wise, pet-wise, whatever it may be. So looking at the requirements, of course, high level gear and food, high combat stats. You could be a peer as well and just safe spot these bosses with range, and you would definitely want a Salve Amulet Enchanted for Vedion. I do want to touch upon each boss. The Callisto drops a Tyrannical Ring, and of course, the Dragon Pickaxe with a 100 Toad Flax drop. And then of course the spider, you could actually just run up and attack it with your friends, do all that stuff. It is great to kill, especially if you guys have vengeance, but you could save spot. Even at max level, it is better to save spot because it does so much damage. And like I said, if you were like a range peer, you could easily do this. And the last wildy boss, the Vedion. I honestly hate this boss. I think I've killed it like 5 times, and the spider and the bear, I've killed them probably 4,000 times combined, spread out through accounts. I would say this boss and Revenants are the best thing to kill in the entire wilderness with the Vigor's Chain Mace. Definitely a wreck, especially if you have a Slayer task or a Salvami. But like I said, you'll definitely want to be an experienced PVMer because getting this thing in a safe spot is so hard, and you cannot range this one. You have to kill 2 dogs. It's such a struggle. I would try and avoid this boss. Up next, the Thermonuclear Smoke Devil, aka THERMY. Okay, so the requirements to kill this boss, a high level of 93 Slayer plus a Smoke Devil Slayer task. If you have 93 Slayer, I would expect you to have some, high combat stats and some gold under your belt. You should invest into the Dragon Claws for this task, or you could bring a Crystal Halberd, extremely good. If you actually do have an Ornate Rejuvenation pool in your house, you might want to use it here. You can just teleport back every single time with special and keep specking it out. It actually is quicker than just sitting there and whipping it. Another tip for THERMY is bring a Berserker Ring when you actually use a special attack, and then switch to the Ring of Suffering Eye, and you should just, kill it very nicely with those recoils because it hits low numbers every single time. So like 2s and 3s, it'll recoil very nice. As far as the notable drops, one of the easier pets to get, Smoke Devil, 1 out of 3,000 drop rate. The Smoke Battle Staff, 2.5 mil for 1 out of 512 drop rate. Also a 620k Occult Necklace for 1 out of 350 drop rate. Yeah, coming up at number 8, the Dagannoth Kings. Some of my favorite bosses right here. I actually have 2 of the 3 pets. I actually did a 10-hour trip as well, probably 10 months ago, and posted a video, a more in-depth, how to get there, all that good stuff. Check it out if you are curious. Okay, so looking at the requirements, of course, gear and potions, food, high combat stats. I feel like every single requirement in this video is going to have that because they're all bosses. And of course, it really doesn't matter if you have a Varrock skirt versus like a Bandos Tacit. It doesn't really matter. Go there, have fun, make some gold. And if you do plan to kill the DK solo, or you're going there solo to find a partner, make sure you bring the pet rock so you can get in the gate solo. And don't forget the rune throwing axes. Someone always forgets them, don't they? So looking at the recommended, a DK Slayer task will definitely help with the 3 bosses. If you have the helmet imbued, there's 15% magic, melee, and range. A huge recommendation would be the Fremenic Elite Diary. You actually need 77 rune crafting, so a little bit of a challenging requirement. If you do happen to get that unlock, you will make bank. Dagannoth bones are like 8 to 9k each right now. We can also see the Dagannoth drop the Dragon Axe for 1 out of 128, but they're only 70k right now. Such a bummer. I remember they were like 400k way back in the day. RIP. 1 out of 750 drop rate for the Elite Clue Scroll. Like I said, Barrows is like 1 out of 33, I think it was, so it shows how good Barrows is for Elite Clues. And then of course you have the Berserker Ring and the Warrior Ring from the Rex, Seerz Ring and Mud Battle Staff from the Prime, and an Archer's Ring from the Supreme, which is 4.5 mil right now. That is so expensive. Number 7, ZULRAH. One of the harder bosses in game. Looking at the requirements, you will need to complete Regicide quests, of course have the best gear and potions, all that stuff you can afford, anti-venom potions, teleport method, and a Ring of Recoil. Also suggestion, try and bring a Ring of Suffering. That's going to help out quite a bit. I most likely wouldn't even attempt this boss if I was below 80 range and 80 magic level, and the Trident does, hit based off your magic level, so you're not going to be hitting much with like 70 mage or something. If you do happen to get skilled as ZULRAH, I would substitute a Blowpipe special attack for the Dark Bow special attack, and you could also bring Vengeance, which is going to recoil like mad damage and get some nice combos and very quick kills. Also, I did post a full ZULRAH guide with the rotation charts. Take a look at that if you do want to see a more in-depth video. And with ZULRAH scales being like 250 each nowadays, and it drops 100 to 300 each, which is 70k just, all the time, not to mention the Dragon Halberds, Magic Seeds, Death Runes, and other various notable drops for 120k. ZULRAH drops 4 notable drops: the Uncut Onyx, the Serpentine Visage, which you would then turn into the Serpentine Helm, the Magic Fang, and the Blowpipe, which is the best ranged weapon in the game besides like Dragon Hunter Crossbow or something, but that's 144 mil versus 5 mil. Estimated profit 2 mil to 2.8 mil, although it could be 1.5 mil or even lower if you are just learning and you keep dying and wasting supplies. Next up, GODWARS. With all the new bosses out there, God Wars is actually pretty good money. You know, Armored Crossbow, SGS, Bando, yeah, BCP is like 19 mil right now. Tacits are over 30 mil. I personally question if I should put God Wars Dungeon so high on the list, but you know, I don't know. You can get very lucky. It's not very consistent, but I'm sure we've all known a couple people, or even yourself perhaps, that have gotten 2 drops within like 40 KC or something and made bank in just one trip. Oh man, this took me a while to make. I think I went in over my head by trying to do 4 bosses for one single number, but we can look at the prices right here, and yeah, everything has risen quite a bit. And the God Wars minions, we cannot forget. I honestly went overboard on this, I'm telling you guys, but they do have some pretty good drops. One day I will get a drop from the minion. Coming up next, one of the newer bosses in game, VORKATH. As far as the requirements, you will need to complete Dragon Slayer 2, high combat level, mainly using range the whole time, anti-D shield, DFS, or even perhaps the Dragonfire Ward if you are rich enough. It's roughly 60 mil as we speak. It is recommended to get a blue Dragon Slayer task, then you can actually use your Slayer helmet imbued from the Nightmare Zone and has 15% range, accuracy, and damage. These things are freaking expensive. I just bought one. They're like 145 mil now. If you can't afford it, the Dragon Hunter crossbow, 30% more accuracy against the dragon. You also should look into getting the Fremennik Elite Diary if you don't have it done, so you can get the boots and teleport right to the docks. If not, move your house to, Relica. Looking at the notable drops, 2 Superior Bones, roughly 25k together, you know, they're 12k each, 2 Dragon Hides as well, but normally you just leave them on the ground. The Skeletal Visage, 55 mil, Draconic Visage, 7.2 mil. I would say this boss has one of the best uncommon and common drops. Like, you can get Dragon Plate Skirts, Rune Darts, Dragon Darts, everything just back to back. Definitely some juicy loot, and we can't forget about the VORKATH pet, another cool pet, 1 out of 3,000 drop rate, which comes into 2.4 mil to 2.8 mil an hour. Some of you guys think it is higher. It could be if you were a pro, although the shield, you know, only is like 55 mil. It used to be 90 or 100 mil, which cuts down the price a decent amount. Number 4, my favorite boss in the game, CORP Beast. Yeah, not to mention the sigil drops, but this is one of my favorite bosses because you can AFK it. Yeah, that sounds crazy, but I normally play on 2 accounts and I go to a free-for-all, which means if you get the drop, you get it. You don't have to split, but if someone else gets a drop, of course, you don't get anything. There's normally 10 to 25 people that do this at one time, so you can't just sit back. You normally don't even get damage more than 30 HP, and then you teleport to your house, click on the rejuvenation pool, teleport back, and repeat. After over 2,500 free-for-all kills, we did happen to get the pet. Feels good. So the requirements, you would mainly want to use a melee with a Zamorak spear. If you use anything else, it's not going to do as much damage, of course. I would consider getting 110 combat, good ass gear, and having a group of like 3 or 4 trusted friends. Iron Men normally solo this boss, but you do have to spend like 10 minutes lowering its defense and keep teleporting back and forth. So if you weren't an Iron Man, just regular player, probably kill it with a clan. Alright, looking at the pet drop, 1 out of 5k, and all the sigil drops are 1 out of 585 to land on the sigil drop table, but then to get an Elysian, it's 1 out of 4,095, and then the Arcane and Spectral are 1 out of 1,365. You can also get Holy Elixirs, 175 Onyx Bolts, 2,000 Cannibals, 10 Raynar Seeds, and a whole bunch of amazing juicy drops. The profit per hour is definitely unknown, you know, depending on your gear, your clan, how efficient. There's so many things that play into this one. Just an example, I've actually seen a guy get an Elysian on the 2nd KC, and then I've seen another guy get an Elysian on 37 KC, but I've killed like 4,000 and I've never gotten one. So just alone, basing the average price of the sigils and the drop rates, it's 288k per drop just on the sigils. So imagine everything else, and if you got lucky, this boss, you know, you could easily make a lot of money with you and your buddies. Coming in at number 3, Cerberus. To kill the Cerberus boss, you will need 91 Slayer, but it is boostable with a Wild Pie. But you know, you couldn't stay there for that long unless your whole inventory was Wild Pies. You also do need a Hellhound Slayer task to get inside this cave. So they recommended the max gear that you could afford, of course, and the spectral spirit shield. This is going to help out a lot. I would say every single kill the ghost spirits come out of the river at least once or twice and lower your prayer by 90 prayer points. But if you do have the shield up, it's only going to take away 45. Notable drops that help puppy pet: 1 out of 3,000 primordial crystal, 28 mil right now, 1 out of 512. We can also see every other crystal is 1 out of 512. There's also the Pegasian crystal, but they're like 200 to 100k right now, so I didn't even put them on the list and it wouldn't fit properly. So yeah, Cerberus does have some decent uncommon and common drops. I would say mainly, the Torstol, Dragon Bones, but nothing too crazy. Most of the gold is found in the primordials, and you can kill these things very quick. Estimated profit per hour 2.5 mil to 3 mil, average 89k per kill. Up next at number 2, Chambers of Xeric or Raids 1. Okay, so for the requirements, I would say you would definitely want 1,000 PVM hours under your belt and at least like 115 combat, or you could be a peer with max gear, but then you'd probably want to have a main at least as well. There is people that solo and duo raids, but if I was you, I would definitely go with like a 4-man, 6-man, or even a 20-man to learn. You would also want a teammate with high farming level. You only need 55 farming to plant Noxifer, but the higher your level is, the more yield you will get. On top of that, you would also want someone with 90 herb lore so they can make overloads plus. Like I said, this is one of the hardest, most complicated things to do in the game. There's many bosses, many puzzles, many different things you would have to learn, probably hours of guides you would want to watch, or go with a couple good buddies on TeamSpeak. Okay, looking at the omelet pet, 1 out of 65 drop rate. If you do receive a unique drop, like that's actually pretty rare if you think about it. There's actually 15 rare unique drops. I will cover them just a bit. We can also see Dragon Sword, Harpoon, and the throwing axes will be removed with an upcoming update. I would say the average loot per hour is 3 to 4 mil, but of course it's gonna vary. I hate saying the gold per hour, and everyone's gonna get mad at me based on their experience. I mean, you could get so lucky or go 300 raids dry. It all depends, to be honest. Hopefully you do get lucky and make some gains. So if you thought Raids 1 looked hard, this is a whole nother level, definitely for the elite max players of the game. I probably wouldn't even be thinking about it if you're watching this video on the 15 bosses. I mean, you're just not ready. You're going to be having to kill every single boss in the game at least. Many players that do attempt and camp Raids 2 normally have max capes or inferno capes, which means, they're extremely skilled. So I would also say a twisted bow for 1.2 billion gold is a requirement to join many clans. I mean, you could go with your friends, but if you want to go with a real clan and get some good loot, get some good kills per hour, that's what you'll need. You will have to complete a Taste of Hope quest and also need a very strong party and trusted group of teammates, normally using Discord or TeamSpeak. Looking at the notable drops, we can see the pet drop is 1 out of 650, which isn't too bad, but considering it takes 30 minutes to complete one single raid, that's going to take a while. There is 7 rare unique drops you can get from the Theater of Blood, including the Scythe, which is around 2 bill gold. It's the best weapon in the game, basically like the melee version of the twisted bow. Hits 3 targets at once or hits 1 enemy 3 times. I actually just got one a week ago myself, and man, what an accomplishment. I feel so good walking around and just PVMing anything. I just do so much damage. Doing raids 2 is at least 5 mil plus an hour. I've heard stories of people saying it's like 15 mil, but I mean, you could go dry, you could get 2 scythes in 100 KC, it all depends. Leave a comment below what is your favorite boss that you saw within the video or that you're expecting to kill within the near future. There's so many bosses in the game, compared to like 3-4 years ago when I started playing. I did put a lot of work in this video. Hopefully it did provide some tips, and it was just entertaining to watch, especially if you're a new player trying to learn about the bosses and whatnot. Hopefully you have a good one, and check out my 15 monster video. That should help out as well. See you guys.
that chronic drinking. Oh, ain't